Okay, all right. So today I want to talk about something a little bit different. It's an observation that I made during my day. Um, that it sometimes happens for me that when I try to make a decision in my life, and I know what the right decision is. I know the decision that will make my life better, much better. But there's something deep within me that does not want me to make that decision. I don't know if it ever happens to you or not, but there's this kind of negative part of me that says, "Hey, you shouldn't take that route, even though that route that will actually make your life much better. You shouldn't do it, and you should keep a certain level of negativity, some badness in your life." And that was very counterintuitive, something strange. Of course, like why would someone do that? Why would not someone pick the best route for their life? And I was thinking about it, and I realized that maybe because deep inside, I think that if I always make the best decision, if I always try to remove the bad things from my life, there might become a moment in which I might declare that life is good. Not that my life in this moment is good, but life in general is good. And I think that's a very dangerous thought. That's a bad thought, I believe. But why? Why do I think that's a bad life? I have to insist again. I'm not saying that. Okay, we can't say that my life at this particular moment is good. Like I can say it right now. Okay, my life is good. But I would never say that life is good. Why is that dangerous? Well, first, the most obvious consequence of that sort of thinking is that you become insensitive to other people's suffering. Because if your worldview is that life is good, then other people's suffering becomes bad data for you. It becomes a point of controversy for your worldview. It's something that you want to stay away from because it basically challenges your view on life. So if someone comes up to you and says, like, there are 20,000 people dying from hunger every day, people committing suicide, every 40 seconds, and they start giving you all these data, real data, then you will start to feel this kind of what you would call a toxic negativity, something that you want to stay away from. And that's bad because when you try to stay away from other people's suffering, basically you're making them invisible to you. And obviously you wouldn't help people who are invisible to you. And so that's a bad behavior. Someone who thinks life is good, they most probably are not going to engage in any useful or fruitful way to alleviate other people's suffering. So that's one danger. The other danger is that if you think life is good, that there's a high chance you might reproduce. Because you think life is good, so you say, okay, out of love, I'm going to bring someone into this world so they can experience what I am experiencing. And that's a very, very bad move, because as antinatalists, we know that coming into existence is always a harm, so we shouldn't do that. And so this kind of positive view of life actually leads you to do an immoral act of reproduction. And the other danger that I can think of is when we think about life with open eyes, with like we look at life with open eyes and see it as it is. We see all the pain, we see all the suffering, the torture, the war, the death, the illness, mental and physically. And we start asking questions. We start asking deep questions, like why? Like why do we suffer like this? What can I do? How can I help? What should I develop in myself? And what kind of person should I become? Now, all these questions, the answer to all of these questions depend on your worldview, right? And if you're someone who sees all the suffering, who sees all the pain, and you feel it within you, even if you have a good life, but still, because you see other people suffering, you feel it, then you start to develop some useful virtues. You start to delve into philosophy. You start thinking deep about these sort of things. You start to try to think of ways that it can help each other. But if you're someone who has this kind of positive attitude, it's someone who thinks that, hey, you know what, life is great. What kind of virtues will you develop? What kind of things will you look for? I bet you will look for how to enjoy yourself more, how to be more free in this life. Everything will be self-centered. How to enjoy more, how to travel more. The kind of virtues, the kind of things that you will try to improve or develop within yourself will be different based on your worldview. And I believe that the virtues that we actually need in the world are the ones that are based on the actual world. And that's when we see that life is not good. So, I guess that's what deep down I feel when I see that fork in my road. That, okay, do I really want to make my life that good? That's dangerous. So I keep that a little bit of. I know that my life is not that good, that I need to keep bad things happening. Bad things always happen. Sickness, everything hits you. But at least theoretically, I have this thing deep down that I want to keep the bad things alive in my life, like as a whip, to prevent me from, God forbid, one day that I might think that life is good, because life is not good. And if you say that life is good, it's basically disrespectful to everyone who's going through suffering right now, through extreme pains, excruciating suffering and torture and war and death and mental and physical illness and all sort of things that we see in our life. So I guess it's just a thought that it seems that a little bit of negativity in life seems to be positive, I guess. Cheers.